Welcome to Green Party, Independent Green Party, Green TV, the show that focuses on positive Green New Deal, eco jobs for the economy, solutions, solar jobs, wind jobs, geothermal jobs, rail jobs, efficiency jobs, conservation jobs, and independent Green Party and Green Party candidates for local, state, and federal office in America and around the world. With us on Green TV today is the DC Green Party, the Statehood Green Party's G. Lee Akin. Welcome to the show, G.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you. Lee Akin, a good friend of mine, I've known Lee for some time now. Lee, first tell us tell the audience a bit about your background, education, born, grew up.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from New Jersey, and I went to school in Iowa. I worked on the Kennedy campaign, and I came here the day after Kennedy was elected and have lived in Washington, D.C. ever since. And I have always been green. My earliest job as a 5-year-old was smashing tin cans to recycle for the war effort. And,
wow. What about your education, Lee?
Graduate, State University of Iowa in general science, minor in education.
And your professional background, what kind of work have you done through your life?
Well, I've worked on Capitol Hill for a congressman. I've worked in D.C. for a member of the school board. I've worked 10 years for an international organization with offices throughout Latin America. I'm fairly bilingual, which is what my job was there, bilingual. And I also...
What's the other language, Spanish? Or?
Spanish, yes, yeah, and with a little Portuguese, a little French. Then I saw clients for about 10 years, counseling for health and emotional improvement. And then I have been self-employed now for the last 35 years.
Now, G. Lee Akin, Green Party, Statehood Green Party of D.C., a bit about your family, please.
Well, my family lived in New Jersey my whole life, and my parents were both very, very progressive. I can remember my father being very angry when I was 10 years old. He'd come back from a convention in Atlantic City where the hotel they were going to stay at would not let their 2 black delegates stay there. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to go across the street and have the whole delegation go over there because they would take the 2 black delegates there. And he was just pacing up and down the kitchen, ranting and raving about these people call themselves trade unionists and they wouldn't go across the street so all of our union delegates could stay in the same place. Shame on them, you know. So that's what I grew up with.
Now, you're married, were married, I believe you're a widow now?
My husband died in '05. He was a Korean War veteran. He taught in DC public schools for 12 years, and then the bad administrative policies just got to him, and he got a job over here in Virginia.
Now, children, Lee, do you have children?
I have 2 adult children, and they each have 2 children, and one is living in Baltimore, and the other one is living in Puerto Rico with his Puerto Rican wife.
So we've covered your professional background, we've covered your family, we've covered your education. Now, your work in the Green Party has been prolific and constant for some years now. As we look into 2016, what are the important issues that you want to make progress on as a Green Party leader and possibly a Green Party candidate?
Well, one of the most serious problems that we've realized, that I've realized as a DC Statehood Green Party person, is that rampant gentrification is a key issue for Washington, D.C. It's not just a matter of having nice places and well-paid jobs for people with a good education. The fact is there are actually deliberate policies which I believe and others believe are being followed to force all lower income or lower wealth people out of the city, which is ridiculous because you need people at all different levels in order to work in the city. And if they're not living in the city, then they're going to have to commute into the city. And as you know, over here in Virginia, commuting is a serious problem because of the crowding of the highways. And we certainly don't need to have policies that are going to make that worse in DC, aside from the unfairness to the people being forced
Well, the
out.
Independent Green Party, of course, advocates for more trains, less traffic, walkable, bikeable, pedestrian-friendly communities that increase the value of our communities and make them safer and more secure. Geely Akin, a key question that I really want to know is, are you planning to be a candidate for the Green Party in 2016?
It's certainly something that I'm very seriously looking at. If this were 2 years ago, I would know now because the system has just been changed. We were having primaries in April, which meant you had to have your petitions handed in by the beginning of January, but we can't even start picking up our petitions until February, and then they have to be in the middle of March, and then the primary is now in June, so that has completely thrown everything off schedule.
I see. So there's a new schedule in D.C. for Washington, D.C. Green Party politicians.
For all politicians.
For all politicians. So tell me one more time, just to make sure I got it. So you can begin picking up your petitions as a Green Party candidate in D.C. in, did you say February?
I believe it's February, yeah.
And those must be completed by when?
By the middle of March.
So you have a month and a half only to get all the signatures you need to be on the ballot. The offices that the Green Party will contest in 2016, or what offices are on the ballot in 2016 for Washington, D.C.?
Okay, first of all, there's the two at-large. 2 out of the 4 at-large are up.
Okay, now that's jargon to someone who doesn't live in D.C.
At-large means somebody who represents all 8 wards in the city.
Okay.
Now, the wards...
Citywide.
Citywide, yes. Now, the wards themselves, there are 8 of them, and half of them come up each 2 years. Right this year, Ward 2 with Jack Evans is up, and I live in Ward 2, so that's something I could think about.
So you're considering about it?
I could think about it, yes. And then...
And Ward 2 is what part of D.C.? Is that Georgetown?
It's downtown K Street and parts of Georgetown and parts of the DuPont Circle area, and it's a fairly affluent area.
So you were in the process of telling me what
and then there's Ward 4, which had a special election because that's where Mayor Muriel Bowser came from, but her hand-picked candidate was elected, but people are getting pretty fed up with some of the things that she's doing, so it's going to be very interesting to see who decides to run in Ward 4. And then there is Ward 7, and Ward 7 and 8 are both running. They're what is known as across the river.
That's Anacostia? The Anacostia.
Yes.
Both 7 and 8 are in
Yeah,
there.
and that tends to be lower income.
And that's the southern part of Washington, D.C.
Yeah, the easterns and southern, yes. And that's going to be really interesting because now that Mayor Gray is no longer having the sword of Damocles held over his head, he's considering, I think, running for some office, and he could run for at-large, he could run for Ward 7, because he lives in Ward 7, and Yvette Alexander, the current incumbent there, only got 40% of the vote last time.
So the Green Party candidate opportunities in Washington, D.C. that I've heard you say here are 4 different wards and 2 at large.
Only 1 at large.
And 1 at large city, and these are all city council seats, and I think those salaries are $135,000 a year.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, they're up there. And I just want to mention Ward 8 also had a Bowser-supported candidate, but she only won by about 100 votes.
A very close race.
So that's going to be really interesting. Now the other things
and that was where Marion Barry had long been in office.
Yes, exactly.
But his passing changed the political landscape.
And then there are what you call the shadow representatives. There's the shadow senator and the shadow representative, and these people don't have a salary, but they carry the banner for the fact that DC does not have statehood. If we have a shutdown in the government in the next few weeks, we will no longer legally be able to spend our own personally paid tax money to haul our garbage or to pay or go to motor vehicles or any of the other things that we pay for with our own taxes to our own city, which is why we need statehood. Now, the one other big one that's up is the delegate. That's Eleanor Holmes Norton. She will be up as all the House representatives are. She does have a salary, but she doesn't have a vote, which is another reason why we need statehood. I mean, there are 5 people we ought to be able to vote for. We can vote for a president and a vice president. We cannot vote for 2 senators. We cannot vote for a representative. And I don't understand why some courageous person hasn't set up an escrow fund in which we DC residents could put 3/5 of our federal tax money until we actually get statehood. That might wake some people up if we aren't paying 3/5 of our taxes into the federal coffers, because it is totally unfair what's being done to us.
So I've heard you say, G. Lee Akin, you're watching Independent Green Party, Green TV. I'm Kerry Campbell of the Independent Green Party of Virginia, and this is G. Lee Akin of the Green Party in DC, the Statehood Green Party. And we're talking about 2016 Green Party politics in Washington, D.C. I counted 8 offices up for election there that you went through, the 4 wards, an at-large, 2 shadows, a shadow House, a shadow Senate, and then the House of Representatives. Is that right? Did I get them all?
That's correct, yes.
8, and that's it. That's the total what's up. Now, of those, you alluded to perhaps the ward where your house is. It looks like of those races that you could run for shadows.
5 of them.
You could run for 5 of them.
Yes.
Oh, okay, that was where I was going.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thanks for jumping ahead.
Yes.
So you could run for shadow senator. You could run for shadow House. You could run for ward. You could run for at large. What happened to my fingers?
Delegate.
Delegate. All right. Yeah. And so, what are you thinking? Is there one office that attracts you as a Green Party candidate?
The at-large one is the one that I would really like to do.
Fascinating.
Yeah. I tried previously, but I lost in primaries, and so in 2012 I ran for shadow representative to Congress, did very well. I got 31,000 votes. And then in 2014, I ran against the chairman of the city council because I was very disappointed in various things. And I continue to be very disappointed because there are a number of things that he has not supported or actively discouraged that I think are very important, which I hope we'll get into soon.
Fantastic. Well, all right then, Lee Akin, let's get into it. Now, we've covered all the races that are coming up, and we've got you to say where you're thinking and
where
leaning.
My heart lies, yes.
Where your heart lies. And thank you, Lee, for that, because I know I certainly couldn't get you to say it on the phone. So you said it on TV. That's even better.
Yeah.
So let's get into what you want to get into.
Issue that I have been fighting very hard on, I don't know how good our chance will be for winning that, is there's a 25-acre tract called McMillan Park. It used to be a sand filtration plant that we used for almost 100 years to protect against cholera and typhoid and other waterborne diseases. It was very successful, but the chemical companies came in with their chemicals that they wanted to sell. And so in the 1980s, they switched it over from the sand filtration, which was very environmental, to chemically treated waters. And we've had that ever since. However, the sand filtration plant sits there with 23 acres of underground galleries with 11-foot ceilings. I mean, it's quite amazing, you know, and I've looked at this and said, my gosh, what a wonderful space to do all kinds of things like hydroponic gardening, fish culture. I even saw in a wine connoisseurs magazine a picture of an underground wine cellar and restaurant, which almost looked like the same ceiling configuration they had there. And I say, by golly, this would be a great place for a high-end restaurant to go in and then have people out growing all kinds of things.
What's the plan? What are they planning to put in there, Lee?
Oh, they are planning to do...
The city government right now.
The city government in 1985. Oh, I should mention, this was fenced off in World War II for fear of sabotaging the water supply. It has been fenced off ever since. Before it was fenced off, it was the only major park that black people in the city were able to use. They would even go over there and sleep at night before air conditioning with blankets. And now it has been fenced off all these years. You can't even go there and play stickball or kick a soccer ball around. It's just a complete waste in terms of the people. The government offered it to the city free of charge if they would keep it a park. But no, they wanted to keep it for development. When there is development, there is a chance for contributions and money. And politicians, in many cases, are very motivated by money. And so now, for the last 6 or 7 years, the DC taxpayers have been paying $1 million a year to subsidize a commercial venture that has a sole source contract to develop this land, and they use this money to advertise against the uses by the people. And they want to put two 13-story high-rise office buildings there, which is contrary to the zoning for that area. I think they want an eight-story apartment condo complex and something like 150 higher-end condo buildings. And then we have a huge housing problem in the city. So anyway, they want to tear off most of it. They want to destroy most of the underground area, and they want it to be for yuppies. And and as I said, this is part of the pushing lower-income people out of the city. And okay, that's one issue. That's one issue.
Hold it.
Okay.
Whoa.
Okay, you have a question.
You're watching Independent Green Party, Green TV, where we focus on positive Green New Deal, eco jobs for the economy, solar jobs, wind jobs, geothermal jobs, rail jobs, and positive Green Party solutions and Green Party politicians. And we're talking to G. Lee Akin, potential Green Party candidate, statehood Green Party candidate in Washington, D.C. this year, 2016, for City Council at large. What is, G. Lee Akin, what is your positive solution for the reservoir issue that you've just described for us? When you get elected to City Council, what will you advise be done? Oh,
well, I'm advising now. And one of the things is not to put $79 million into next year's, in the 2016 budget, to be used for the city to tear most of this land up so it can be developed as a paved over suburban style Tyson Corners type development.
I think I understood
$79 million.
Yeah. I think I understood from your earlier description of some of the uses that you were suggesting that you would like to see portions of it left intact and used for some of these other productive purposes. Yeah. Is that right?
We have basically two layers. We have 23 acres underground, much of which could be used for all kinds of creative, commercial, cooperative, community purposes, including growing food for school programs. And we just kicked Chartwell out of providing food for the DC schools. So, I mean, there's just one idea there. Secondly, there could be community gardens above ground. There could be solar energy feeding the underground and allowing partially shaded areas for gardening because it gets very hot in the summer. And then there are groups that have developed very nice other activities that you could do. And, they talk about wolf trap type events, Glen Echo type activities. You could even have a soccer fields there. So, there are just so many different things that could be used for the community.
Well, I'm not hearing, Lee, a specific idea that I can...
Well, the problem is you've got 25 acres. That's a lot of land to have a specific, specific idea.
It's multiple.
Yeah, exactly. 25 acres is a lot of land.
Fantastic. So the Green Party in D.C., you as a Green Party candidate, in 2016, you're going to work for these positive alternatives.
Exactly. And that's just one.
On the reservoir. Yeah. On the reservoir. It's beautiful up there. I'm very familiar with the area. G. Lee Akin, potential Green Party candidate for City Council at large in Washington, D.C. in 2016. Another big issue that is going on. Can we shift to that now, Lee?
Definitely.
is the solar energy, the renewable energy, the question of whether Pepco will be purchased by another company that is primarily a nuclear power company.
Yes.
All of this correct?
No, that's correct, yes.
And the Green Party was successful in leading, along with solar advocates, last year. They were successful in defeating this. The commission voted no, that the merger would not go through.
Yeah, the Public Service Commission in, I guess it was August, after a very well-attended hearing and with many people speaking out against Exelon, which was very conveniently held the night of the President's State of the Union address. I mean, maybe they thought people wouldn't show up for that, but they did in great numbers. And finally, the Public Service Commission, the PSC, voted 3 to either hold off on it or be not in favor of it, or to say it needed sweetening, the deal needed sweetening. Well, Exelon came back, and they have been very busy sweetening the deal. And there is apparently something they've done to the tune of...
Hold on right there. My memory is different.
Okay.
My memory is that it was defeated by the Public Service Commission. I could be wrong.
Well, they voted against it.
They voted against it.
Except one of them, I believe, voted against it, but wanted to hear whether there was a possibility of sweetening
And the
deal.
reason the Green Party wants this merger to not occur is because Greens and renewable energy advocates have been very effective in increasing solar and renewable energy in the district.
Yes, and we've had a fight with Pepco to get them to be more cooperative. And, you know, we're finally getting them to work reasonably well. But our understanding is that this company, Exelon, which wants to not merge with Pepco, because they're not merging with Pepco. They're buying it out. Yeah, they're buying the shares outright. The owners of Pepco shares cannot transfer to Exelon shares. So, you know, I mean, that's the end of that. That's not a merger, that's a purchase. So the upshot of it all is that they will get a chunk of money. The president of Pepco will get, I think, $10 million, golden parachute, and other...
But this deal would have been dead, wouldn't it, Lee, if the mayor hadn't come back and done these exceptional acts?
Oh, yes, yes.
So it was her action. Now, where is the deal right now? Can the Green Party still come out victorious for solar jobs?
Yeah, basically, I'd like to say just a little bit more about
Please do.
You brought up the mayor and other politicians. There has been relatively little support in favor of stopping Exelon in the council, but we do have 4 courageous council members who came out with a letter, and I want to talk about that later.
We've got 5 minutes left, so if you want to talk about it, you better talk about it quick.
Okay, let me finish.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, the chairman of the city council owns about $38,000 worth of stock if the deal goes through.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And then...
Isn't that a conflict of interest?
Well, the council is not voting on it. They can exert influence, but they're not voting. And then you also have, and that would be Chairman Mendelson, who I ran against in 2014. Right. He's not up for election this year, so that's not one I could run against. But the other thing, then there's Vincent Orange, who is a former Pepco employee. I don't know whether he owns stock or not. There is also the fact that a very close aide to Mayor Bowser, I think she's been referred to as her Valerie Jarrett, owns somewhere between $1 and $3 million worth of Pepco stock.
Your point is these people have economic interest for this to go through and should be recruited.
Yeah.
The path to victory for the Green Party on this issue, what do you see?
Continued action. The Exelon Pepco group had a town hall last week, and when we went there, we found these,
all these goodies,
and these, and these, and green pens, and notepads.
Folks call that greenwashing, don't they?
Yes,
they call it greenwashing
and notepads, all under every seat there.
Right.
Now, actually, what I hear some people have done who don't favor Exelon for good reasons have taken these things home, and they're going to write, I don't support Exelon, Pepco merger, you know, and so.
The positive path to victory for the Green Party, G. Lee.
It's, at this point, it's just urging people to call their council members, to ask harsh questions. And I went to an ANC meeting. Politically speaking, ANCs are small groups within each ward. And the one I went to was 4C, which is Mayor Bowser's old ward. And they voted unanimously to be against the Pepco sale. And they had a Pepco executive there selling it very vigorously. But these people are smart. And they were against it, and they will continue to be. Now, ANC's advisory neighborhood commissions are supposed to have great weight in anything political. So I am hoping that a lot more ANCs will come out against this. Mary Che, who's the ward representative for Ward 3, which is Upper Northwest, a very affluent area, has been leading the charge. Has been leading the charge on fighting this, and they submitted an 11-page letter with about 35 footnotes saying all the things that are wrong with this deal. They sent that to the PSC, the Public Service Commission. So I am hoping that we will succeed. And furthermore, there's something called Power DC that we're supporting. They want to buy out Pepco and have this as a for the people organization. And these are some of the signs that people are being able to carry. They're not the fancy things that were paid for by Exelon, as they were at the PSC hearing. They had people there being paid $15 or $15 an hour or per person, and they had green shirts with Exelon on them. They had hats with Exelon and big printed signs.
Mere seconds, Lee.
So it's a bad deal. I wish we had more time to go into why it's a bad deal, but 23 nuclear plants going out of commission in the next dozen years, each costing $1 billion to download and get rid of, that we will have to help pay for.
You've been watching Independent Green Party Green TV. We thank you so much for tuning in. This is the well-informed friend of mine, G. Lee Akin, Statehood Green Party. Probable candidate for city council at large. That's where your heart is, you said today.
Yes.
I thank you for coming on the show.